just wanted to do an end of June update, quick summary of how the garden's looking, what's happening, and mainly just document it because we've had 4 or 5 days of intense heat, 35 degrees, and it has been sweltering, and from next week apparently it's going to drop back down to in the 20s, which is obviously much better, but the heat has been bonkers. Yeah, bonkers. And it's had some impact on the plants, and it's had some impact on the watering. Being able to come out and water the containers nearly every day at the moment, and that has been a challenge because they're drying out instantly, and I know it's like kind of unheard of, this sort of heat on a regular basis, especially for this number of days. But during this time I've had to water things more, and that definitely goes for the greenhouse. So speaking of greenhouse, thankfully I've got the shade on the roof and it has done a cracking job. Now, the average temperature of the greenhouse, as you can see with the shade on, if you can see that, 44. I mean, that is insane. That is even with this shade on. I know I've mentioned this in previous videos. You can buy it off Amazon. It's sun protection shade, blocks out 90% of rays, and thank God I've got it, because this would all be dead. It's been that hot, and it does look good. So the cucumbers in the 2 corners here have actually recovered. I think on the last video I did, I mentioned I thought they both had it and I was going to have to buy a couple more, but they've actually recovered and they're coming back. Slugs had them and had them, pretty good, and I thought they must have chewed through the stem because they both looked really sick, but they've recovered. I've had to bring back indoors the hanging basket tomatoes, just because it's too hot for them outside, so they have some of this shade protection. But you can see here, all the tomatoes are looking great. Everything, all healthy, no yellowing. I've been coming out daily, trying to keep on top of the side shoots best I can, and yeah, it's looking really good. Onions as well, I mentioned this on the other video, done great. I've been eating them, really happy with them. I'm just waiting for some of them to die back, you see, so I can then wash them and put them in the fridge. I did have a few bolt, as you can see there, because of the weather, but that's still fine. That'll still be okay to eat. But yeah, onions have been great. Just needed to do some more of them. Now, potting table has worked brilliantly. I'm really pleased with this. So much of it is coming off here and into the garden as other things have finished. Cosmoses, dahlias, echinaceas, delphiniums. Some of this is for next year, but it's really come in handy. There's so much I've planted off here into containers, like Cosmos there, for example. Agastache, that's another one. But you can see here how they've come on. Cosmos, Agastache, Rebecca, Sweet William, all that from the table, all of that. Same into here. Hoping you can actually see this because the light is so bright I can barely see the screen myself. So again, quite a lot in here for Bascums. All got in recently. Here's another one. A lot of Rebecca, Echinaceas, Sweet Williams, Rabinas. Again, Agastache, everything in there. And the final one, yeah, so hot lips in there as well. So again, you'd probably say a success. Really pleased, really pleased with how the potting table has done and what it's produced. Another thing I'm really pleased about is these sedum baskets, and I think I mentioned in the previous video I was doing these this year because the garden is south facing and it gets extremely hot, and a lot of your traditional hanging basket plants struggle to survive. But this has been amazing, considering this is just a couple of plants pulling off bits, pulling off rosettes, pushing them in, and it's created that. It's going to flower for the first time this year. So this is this one. I've got a couple of these. This is another one I'm working on. Same thing on a smaller scale. Lovely pots these. Actual pot. And look at that one. Brilliant is that. I like how it bounces. And these two are where we've been growing some on to then pull bits off to make more. That's what these are for. And you can see I've even poked some into here, and that's worked well. Speaking of successes, I just want to take a moment just to look at the fullness of that border. Them dark tower penstemons, I come back every year, unbelievable. Considering I started off with one plant, I lifted and splitted multiple times over the last few years. Crazy. Had loads of this. And loads of this. But again, just kind of trying to keep on top of the watering has been a right challenge. Yeah, I think I'll be picking a lot of these tomorrow and eating them with some yogurt or some custard and a bit of other chopped fruit. But yeah, again, another success. These are the squash that I'm growing that look like pumpkins, and I mentioned they don't have the space, so I've put them in the borders. There's the other one. Again, has a flower on. I need to get in there and weed that grass. Oh, got a lot of weeding to do, Christ, but yeah, I'm very happy with that because they need water, they need heat, and it's been absolutely boiling with not much water. So I'm pleased they've got to that stage without lots of slug damage, and the flowers are on, so we might end up with a squash. The variety of them is called Blaze. Just to add in here, while I'm watering, the broad beans that were here have now finished. A little bit disappointing that they finished so early, and it's mainly because they've been absolutely scorched by the hot weather. So they've now been replaced with lettuce, and I had a lot of lettuce to still be planted out. I probably sowed too much, and I'll quickly show you the second part of this clip. You'll see where I've been growing my lettuce in the washing up bowls, so that's been brilliant, been a real success. But yeah, the broad beans have come to an end. I did manage to get a full carrier bag of broad beans off the plant and put them in the fridge. I must easily have had 3 carrier bags full of broad beans off that crop. Been absolutely fantastic. I've been eating them every single day. I've mentioned them here loads of times. You know, garlic, onions, cooking them in a pan, eating them raw, pasta sauces, eating them with salads. Been amazing, really good. At the back there, red flowering broad beans, they didn't do very well and they got pretty damaged by the heat, but it does look like there's a few beans coming on. So I'm leaving them just to see if I can get at least one crop off. It's probably about all I'm going to get, but I'm leaving them for now. Plus right beside them is some leeks, and they're not ready to harvest yet, so I thought I'll just leave them. I've got nothing further to go in that gap, so I'll just leave them. Here you go. This is what they've done in these balls. Mixture here of Tom Thumb and Little Gem. You can see, perfect really. Yeah, I mean these are all ready to be taken off and eaten now. You can eat them as well. You know, a little bit of slug damage, which is, you know, I've even got these on a shelf. You still get that, but yeah. So this, perfect for anybody wanting to do it in a very small space. Just make sure you put holes in the bottom with a drill.